asked you guys on Instagram to ask me some questions. I'll leave a link down in the description below for my Instagram. I'll be doing these monthly, so if you guys hit follow, you might see them on the story. So let's see what we got. All right, the very first question is from my buddy Grady Cod. So yeah, out here in Arizona, and it seems like a lot of places are starting to shut down the lakes. So a lot of places are not being able to fish. I mean, right now I'm off of work for 2 weeks, so I got to be able to fish. I'm not just gonna fish the urban spots. I kind of wanted to fish the lake, so that kind of sucks, but is what it is. There's ways around it, and there still are some lakes that are open that I'm gonna be trying to fish at. So is what it is, Grady. I don't know. Sick though. It's a good question. Have you ever fished in other country outside of the USA? So I have fished in Costa Rica and Mexico. And I guess you can also include Canada. So 3 places. My favorite place though to fish was probably, I'm biased, maybe Canada. But the Costa Rica trip that I did back in like 8th grade was actually extremely fun. I mean, I got to fish for a wide variety of different fish. They got like these jungle bass out in like this lake called Lake Arsenal. It's at like the base of a volcano. Super sick. I didn't catch one, sadly, but it was just kind of an awkward time because at the time they were like, yo, I don't know if you should be like fishing on this trip. I'm like, I'm going to Costa Rica. I'm obviously going to bring a travel rod and a reel. Like, I'm going to figure it out. And like, we were out on this lake in our kayaks, and these 2 girls, they come by, and I had my rod sticking out in front of the kayak. These 2 girls come by, they hooked themselves with my rod, and it was just a whole debacle. But that was a good time. I love Costa Rica. I hope to go back very soon, but I'd probably say Canada is my favorite place. All right, Caleb Adam asks, if you had to fish one bait for the rest of your life, what would it be? So it's a very hard question because I love a different slew of different baits, and I've caught and fished. But practically, if I had to fish one bait for the rest of my life, I would probably fish the I'd probably fish the Battle Shad, the 7.5 inch. I can fish this bait pretty much anywhere. I can fish it at urban spots. I can fish it at lakes. I can fish it in clear water, muddy water, grass, trees, rocks. It doesn't matter. I can fish this bait anywhere and it'll get bit. It's a perfect shad imitation. There's shad everywhere in the country, in the world. So overall, it's a perfect bait for big and small fish, for big bodies of water or small bodies of water. So practicality, I would fish the Battle Shad. If you asked me probably a few years ago, I'd probably say the Hinkle Trout, just because it was such a fun bait and I was catching a lot of fish on it. Reyes9280 asks, do you ever fish with regular lures off camera, like soft plastics? Regular lures off camera, I do like to throw the jig, the jerkbait, the popper, sometimes the frog, and the spy bait. Those are pretty much the 5 conventional baits that I will still fish to this day. I mean, I fished a jerkbait earlier today. Okay, Justin Newton asks, go-to bait for cold water swim baits. For cold water, I like something slow, but I like to have 2 options on the deck. So I'll have, let's say, a Hog Hunter's Magnum, something slow that I can fish deep, like around the rocks and stuff like that. Very lifelike bait. And then I'll either have like a Depths 250 in a trout pattern, or back at it again, the Hinkle Trout. So there's normally a soft bait and a hard bait tied on, just because cold water doesn't mean that the fish don't want to, maybe chase down a bait. I mean, during the middle of the winter here in Arizona, it's not like super frigid cold water, but it might get down to like the mid 50s. But those fish are still willing to chase down trout. I mean, I've seen fish boil trout in the middle of winter. So the fish just have to be fired up enough. But for the most part, I am throwing like the Magnum and just slow rolling around rocks and stuff like that. Fish All Brands asks, you have a Calico spotted bay bass fish. That Battle Shad is pretty fuego in the kelp. Yeah, I mean, normally it's once or twice every year we go out to Southern California. We fish for spotties in either Mission Bay or San Diego Bay, or some of the local lagoons as well. And when it comes down to calico fishing, we'll fish with a couple buddies like Brian, Tim, and it's a lot of fun. Honestly, like those saltwater bass are so freaking insane. Like once you get into them, it just seems like it's lights out. Like those fish are super aggressive. They're in like the thick nasty kelp, and then like with the spotties they're up in the eelgrass. Like it's a lot of fun, especially when they're biting good. So I love the saltwater bass. This is a decent question. I don't think I've ever gotten it. Estimated value of your whole swim bait collection. That's by JGCL 2005. Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know. Estimation on that kind of stuff is weird because, there's flipper prices, there's retail, there's prices that I've paid, 2,000, 3,000, I think. Gisela 623 asks, what size reel would you recommend to be throwing the Depths 250? So, I've been throwing the Depths 250 lately on the Z 2020. It's a 200 size reel, and I absolutely love it. So, normally, it's either a 200 or 300 size reel. I used to throw it heavily on the Abu Garcia, the Revo Big Shooter. This is probably like a 300 size reel. All right, D Burns a lot asks, who makes that travel rod in your Swimbait Underground bag video? I was actually just using it today. It is this. It's a 3-piece. It's by Moam Sticks. Absolutely love this little travel rod. I mean, it's so dope. The carbon fiber handle is sick on it. It's the first one that I've ever had on it. I think it's like 710, I think overall, and it's a badass rod. I mean, Cam makes amazing rods when he wants to. I will leave a link down in the description below if you guys wanted to get a travel rod from Cam to see if he's still making them right now. He's been kind of doing his own thing lately, but he's awesome. He makes amazing rods, and he made me this stick. So, Moam Sticks right there. Dash Dawson Outdoors, he asked, what's your most memorable big fish catch? That's honestly a tough one, but it'll probably be my stereotypical, my personal best. I was with my best friend. The whole circumstance is a lot of just luck. I mean, that morning, Manny Chi and Mike Gilbert were out there. The whole week before that, they were on like a really good bite. We went out there and we're like, dude, hopefully we can catch like a really big fish today. We get out to the lake, the motor doesn't start. It's blowing like 20 miles per hour down lake, and we're like, damn, like, all right, let's just go down the bank. We'll just fish around. I was fishing a soft bait. He was throwing like a crankbait at the time, and we were just going. And then we get to like this point, make a cast on the point, and like, it just out of nowhere, I just get thumped right next to the boat. I set the hook. This thing just starts dogging me. It stays down, and Phoenix is like, yo, what do you got? Is it a catfish? I'm like, I don't think it's a cat, bro. Comes up right next to the boat, and I'll always remember seeing this fish as I brought it up to the boat. I just remember seeing this giant belly come up, and I was like, oh my god, dude, net this thing. He goes down and nets it, and we just both look at each other like, holy crap. And he's like, dude, I think that one might be a double. I'm like, oh, and I grab it. I'm like, dude, this is a giant. It was my first ever 9-pounder. Went 9 pounds, 14 ounces, so it was a giant fish for me at the time, and it was so awesome to get it with my best friend. He was there, got it on Cast to Catch, and just it was a great day. I mean, Manny and Mike got to see that fish that day. It was just a great day overall, so I'll never forget that fish for the rest of my life. Galvez 777, he asked, what other bodies of water would you like to fish that are on your bucket list? That's a good question. So I definitely want to fish NorCal. NorCal is definitely one of the more like on my bucket list places to fish. I want to fish Malone's. I want to fish Clear Lake. I want to fish Shasta. Like all those NorCal lakes that have like those really gigantic trout-eating fish. Like I want to go out there and see what it's like to fish those lakes. I mean, obviously I know that it's not just like a walk in the park out there, but I definitely want to experience NorCal. I've been fishing SoCal for the past 15 years of my life, and it's an awesome place, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like NorCal would be an awesome place. So I was talking to Phoenix, maybe here in the near future, that we're gonna do like a Pacific Coast send. So we start here in Arizona, go to SoCal, then go up to NorCal, go through Oregon, and then go up to Washington, and then back down, just fish for bass. Because I know that whole like northern half of like the West Coast, it's got big bass. It's just kind of a little untouched, especially like Oregon and Washington from what I've heard. Outside of the country, it would have to be either, well, both really, Lake Biwa and Lake Ikihara out in Japan. Biwa just seems like such an awesome lake to fish. I mean, from what I've really read and heard, it's not that easy again. It's just sometimes people find windows and those fish are just aggressive sometimes out there. And I've heard that there are absolute monster bass out there to be caught. So, and Ikihara just looks like a cool place to fish. I mean, you guys see those balling fish being caught. They just fish super tight to the cover with like the ballum, or I've seen dudes throw like the tiny clash, stuff like that around there, and they get freaking smashed. But I doubt that it's like that every single time you go. So those are pretty much the places that I really, really want to go to before I kick the bucket. So hopefully that happens soon. Okay, 0429, he asks, would you make your own bait? If so, what would it be? If it were to be a collab, with who? This is a really good question, actually. So a long time ago, I probably thought about making like a bass swim bait, like an 11-inch, 10-inch like bass profile style swim bait, kind of like the code name, but in a smaller size. Just because it seemed like nobody had really done that. I mean, there's a ton of trout, ton of bluegill, and a ton of shad, but you never see like a baby bass profile. So that Depth's code name has always been like something that I thought was a cool looking bait. It was just a little on the bigger side. They made it in like a 10-inch version. I'd probably buy it, but I definitely was thinking like maybe I could maybe make my own bass style swim bait. I never did it. I just never thought I had the talent or the time to do it. My buddy though, Captain Chris Ramirez, he does make baits, and he might be making like a bass style very soon. So I can't wait for that. If I were to collab with who? It's a good question. It would be dope to collab with Andrew Hinkle, who makes the Hinkle baits. He's got some baits out there that I'm really waiting that he hopefully releases one day. Either him or quite possibly DRT. I like DRT. I like the style for them. But overall, for the bass bait that I'd want it to kind of look like the Hinkle in a way. So I'd probably go with just like Andrew.